The mirror in my sister's room seemed to pulse with an unspoken accusation as I stood there, heart hammering like a fugitive's footsteps, the soft fabric of her sundress brushing against my skin in a way that felt both forbidden and inexplicably right. It was just curiosity at first, a fleeting one born from the quiet afternoons when the house echoed with emptiness, my parents at work and my sister off at college, leaving her wardrobe as an unattended archive of mysteries I had always admired from afar. But as I adjusted the straps over my shoulders, a strange warmth spread through me, not just from the material, but from somewhere deeper, like a dormant ember igniting into a flame I couldn't control. My reflection blurred for a moment, or so I thought, and when it cleared, the face staring back wasn't entirely mine. Subtler contours, a gentler curve to the jawline that made my breath catch in my throat. What was happening? This wasn't supposed to be real, it was just a game, a secret experiment in the safety of solitude. Yet here I was, watching my own body shift in ways that defied every rational explanation, the surprise unfolding like a storm I had unwittingly summoned. I remember the initial pull, that magnetic draw to her closet, as if the colors and textures whispered promises of escape from the monotonous gray of my everyday existence. Growing up as the overlooked younger brother, I had always envied her effortless grace, the way she moved through the world with a confidence that seemed woven into her very being. My life felt like a series of half-hearted performances, the rough-and-tumble sports my dad pushed me into, the awkward locker room banter that never quite fit, the internal monologue that questioned why I felt so out of sync with the role assigned to me. Just try it, the voice in my head had urged that afternoon, soft and insistent, like a siren's call from the depths of my unspoken desires. I started small, with a scarf draped around my neck, its silkiness sending shivers of delight through me. Then a blouse, loose and flowing, that made my posture straighten involuntarily, as if shedding an invisible weight. But the dress, that simple, floral-patterned piece hanging innocently among the others, called to me loudest. Slipping it on, I felt a rush of vulnerability mixed with exhilaration, my mind racing with fragmented thoughts. What if someone walks in? What does this say about me? Am I losing myself, or finding something true? As the changes intensified, that warmth evolved into a tingling cascade, starting from my fingertips and radiating inward. My hands looked different, slimmer, more delicate, nails that I swore were bitten short now appearing neatly tapered. Panic flickered at the edges of my excitement. This couldn't be mere illusion, a trick of the light or my overactive imagination. I touched my face, feeling the smoothness where stubble should have been, the subtle rounding of cheeks that mirrored old photos of my sister in her teens. Inner turmoil surged like a tidal wave. Was this some family curse, a hidden genetic quirk activated by the act of donning her attire? Or was it psychological, my mind manifesting what my heart had long yearned for? I paced the room, the dress swishing with each step, amplifying the disconnection between my familiar self and this emerging version. Memories flooded in, childhood games where I'd sneak peeks at her makeup tutorials, the quiet envy during family gatherings when compliments rained on her outfits while mine went unnoticed. Now, confronted with this inexplicable shift, doubt clawed at me. What if this is permanent? How do I explain it? The emotional weight pressed down, a blend of fear and a budding sense of liberation, as if layers of pretense were peeling away to reveal a core I had buried deep. The house creaked around me, amplifying my isolation, and I wondered if this was the universe's way of forcing a reckoning. I sat on the edge of her bed, staring at my legs, longer, smoother, the dress hemming just above knees that felt foreign yet fitting. Self-dialogue erupted in my mind. This is wrong, take it off. Countered by, but it feels so authentic, like coming home after years of wandering. Tension built as I considered the implications. What would my family think? My sister, whose clothes I had borrowed without permission, would she see betrayal or understand the desperation behind it? I imagined her reaction, a mix of shock and perhaps empathy, drawing from our shared whispers about feeling out of place in our small town. But the real twist came when I tried to remove the dress. The fabric clung stubbornly, as if bonded by an invisible force, and with each tug, the changes deepened. My voice softening in pitch when I whispered to myself, hair lengthening slightly at the nape of my neck. Heart pounding, I realized this wasn't just dress-up. It was a threshold crossed, an extreme surprise that demanded I confront the fragments of identity I had long ignored. The air in my sister's room grew heavy, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath, watching me grapple with the impossible. My reflection in the mirror had become a stranger's, yet one I recognized in the quiet corners of my soul, eyes wider, lashes longer, a softness that felt like a betrayal of the boy I'd been taught to be. The dress still clung to me, its floral pattern a defiant emblem of the line-eyed crust, and every attempt to pull it off only tightened its grip, as if it were a second skin sealing me into this new reality. My heart thundered, a drumbeat of panic and curiosity, while my mind spun a frantic tapestry of questions. Was this magic? A prank? A psychological break? I pressed my hands to my chest, feeling a subtle shift in my frame. Narrower shoulders, a gentler curve, that sent a shiver of awe and dread through me. I wasn't just wearing my sister's clothes, I was becoming something else, someone else, and the realization was both a key unlocking a hidden door and a lock snapping shut on the life I'd known. I stumbled to the window, needing air, needing clarity, but the view outside offered no answers, just the familiar cul-de-sac bathed in late afternoon light, where kids biked in lazy circles and normalcy mocked my unraveling. I thought of my sister, her laughter, her easy confidence in her own skin, and a pang of guilt hit me for invading her space, her identity. But was it invasion if it felt like discovery? Inner dialogue raged. You're trespassing, you're stealing, versus this is you, the you you've buried under expectations. I remembered nights lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering why I felt like an actor miscast in my own life, why team sports left me hollow, why my father's proud claps on my back felt like weights. Now, standing in her room, I was no longer just playing a part, I was rewriting the script, and the suspense of what came next was electrifying and terrifying. The tingling sensation returned, stronger now, coursing through my limbs like a current, and I watched, mesmerized, as my fingers traced the mirror's edge, their movements more graceful, almost deliberate. My hair, once a short, tousled mess, now fell in soft waves past my ears, catching the light in a way that made my breath hitch. I spoke aloud, testing my voice. Hello. And it came out higher, melodic, a sound that sent a jolt of recognition through me, as if I'd heard it in dreams I never dared admit. The external changes were undeniable, but the internal ones were seismic, a surge of confidence warring with a flood of vulnerability. What would happen if I stepped outside like this? The thought alone tightened my throat. Our town was small, its judgment sharp, neighbors who smiled politely but whispered about anything different. I imagined their stares, the questions, the assumptions, and my stomach churned with the weight of social scrutiny I hadn't yet faced. Then came the twist that tilted my world further. A text notification pinged from my phone, forgotten on the dresser. It was from my sister, halfway across the state at college. Hey, you okay? Felt a weird vibe just now, like something's up with you. My pulse spiked. Could she sense this? Was there some cosmic thread tying us, her clothes acting as a conduit? I typed a quick I'm fine, my fingers trembling, but the lie felt brittle. The changes weren't slowing. If anything, they were accelerating, as if the dress, or whatever force it carried, was determined to finish what it started. I sat on the floor, hugging my knees, the fabric soft against my skin, and let the emotional tide wash over me. Fear of being seen, yearning to be understood, and a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something true. But the suspense lingered. What would happen when the front door opened, when my parents came home, when I could no longer hide? As the sun dipped lower, casting elongated shadows across the room, I forced myself to stand, the dress now feeling less like borrowed finery and more like an integral part of this evolving self. My phone buzzed again, another message from my sister. Seriously, Spill, what's going on? I just had the weirdest dream about you and my old stuff. Her words hit like a revelation, twisting the knife of coincidence into something sharper, more deliberate. Was this connected to her? Had she left some essence in these clothes, a lingering energy from her own journeys of self-discovery that I'd somehow tapped into? The thought sent my mind reeling, a suspenseful knot tightening in my chest as I paced, my steps lighter, more fluid, the changes settling into a rhythm that both alarmed and intrigued me. I glanced at the mirror again, seeing not just physical alterations but an emotional mosaic, eyes reflecting a storm of confusion, yet holding a spark of newfound clarity, like sunlight piercing through clouds after a downpour. I needed answers, or at least a distraction from the whirlwind inside me, so I ventured downstairs, careful to avoid windows where neighbors might glimpse this transformed figure. The kitchen felt alien, familiar objects taking on new significance. Even pouring a glass of water felt different, my grip more precise, my movements carrying an unintended elegance. Inner conflict brewed fiercely. This is a crisis. Call someone, fix it, clashed with embrace it. How often does life hand you a mirror to your hidden truths? Memories resurfaced of high school, where I'd linger in the art room sketching figures that blurred gender lines, teachers praising my unique perspective while classmates teased my sensitivity. Now, those sketches seemed prophetic, and the social challenges loomed large. What if friends saw me like this? The group chats filled with macho jokes, the weekend hangouts that left me feeling like an outsider. A twist of anxiety gripped me. What if this wasn't reversible? The idea of navigating school, explanations, potential rejection. It built a wall of hurdles, each one a test of self-acceptance I wasn't sure I could pass. But amid the fear, a quiet acceptance began to bloom, tentative like the first buds after winter. I sat at the table, tracing patterns on the wood, feeling the subtle sway of hair against my collar, the dress's fabric a comforting whisper against my skin. My voice, when I hummed a tune from childhood, carried a harmony that resonated deeper, as if aligning with an inner melody long silenced. Psychological layers peeled back. The identity conflict that had simmered for years, bubbling up now in this extreme surprise, forcing me to question not just who I was, but who I could be. Suspense hung in the air as the front door rattled. My parents, home early? My heart leaped, and I froze, the emotional turn sharp and unforgiving. No, just the wind, but the nearness amplified everything. The thrill of secrecy, the dread of exposure, the unexpected joy in feeling, for the first time, like my exterior matched the complexity within. The evening deepened, and with it, my resolve flickered. I returned upstairs, attempting once more to shed the dress, but it resisted, the changes holding steady, waist subtly cinched, posture naturally arched in a way that felt empowering rather than imposed. A text from a friend popped up, inviting me to a game night, and I stared at it, the hurdle of normalcy staring back. How could I go as I was? Or worse, how could I revert and pretend this never happened? The inner dialogue intensified. Hide it, suppress it, it's safer, versus own it, this surprise might be the catalyst you've needed. As twilight faded, I lay on the bed, the room a cocoon of transformation, suspense coiling tighter with each passing minute, wondering if dawn would bring reversal or revelation. Night had fully claimed the sky outside, stars pricking through like distant judgments, and I remained in my sister's room, the dress a constant reminder of the precipice I teetered on. The changes had plateaued, leaving me in this liminal state, body reshaped in subtle, undeniable ways, voice a gentle echo of what it once was, emotions churning like a sea in storm. I scrolled through old family photos on my phone, seeing parallels I'd never noticed before. The way my smile mirrored hers, the shared arch of our brows, now amplified in my reflection. A twist of fate, perhaps, or something more profound, a genetic echo activated by this act of curiosity turned catalyst. Inner turmoil twisted deeper. You've gone too far, this is irreversible damage. Battled against, this is evolution, a step toward wholeness you've craved without knowing. The psychological depth of it all weighed heavy, layers of self-doubt peeling back to reveal raw vulnerability, a fear of losing the familiar even as I glimpsed a truer self. Downstairs, the clock ticked relentlessly, each second amplifying the suspense of impending confrontation. My parents' voices would soon fill the hall, their routines predictable yet now a threat to my fragile secret. I practiced responses in the mirror. It's just a phase, or I need to talk about something. But the words felt hollow, mismatched to the profound shift occurring within. Social challenges crystallized in my mind. School tomorrow, lockers slamming, friends' casual greetings that could turn to stares or questions. What if the changes persisted? The hurdle of self-acceptance loomed largest, a mountain I'd have to climb alone at first, navigating the emotional turns from denial to tentative embrace. A memory surfaced. My sister confiding in me years ago about her own insecurities, how she'd experimented with styles to find her voice, and I wondered if this was her unintended gift, a bridge across our shared uncertainties. The phone vibrated once more, this time a call from her, and my transformed hand hesitated before answering. Hey, what's up? I said, my voice betraying nothing at first, but she paused, then, you sound different. Everything okay? The lie stuck in my throat, and in a rush, I confessed fragments. The dress, the curiosity, omitting the extreme surprise for fear of sounding unhinged. Her response was a lifeline. I get it more than you know. Remember when I told you about feeling like I didn't fit? Clothes were my way out too. The conversation unfolded like a balm. Her empathy a twist that eased the tension, turning isolation into connection. Yet suspense lingered. She promised to come home soon. But what would she see? The changes felt permanent now, a commitment to exploring this identity conflict head-on, with all its hurdles and hopes. As the call ended, a quiet resolve settled over me, the dress no longer a prison but a portal. I stood taller, feeling the emotional journey crest toward acceptance, even as external storms brewed. The night stretched on, filled with inner dialogue that shifted from conflict to curiosity, each thought a step toward reconciling the boy I was with a person emerging, fluid, authentic, unafraid of the unknown paths ahead. The first hints of dawn filtered through the curtains, painting the room in soft grays and golds, but sleep had eluded me, my mind a whirlwind of reflections on the night's revelations. The dress, once a symbol of impulsive curiosity, now draped over me like a mantle of destiny, its fabric a silent witness to the profound shifts that had reshaped not just my appearance but the very architecture of my soul. My sister's words from the call echoed in my ears, a bridge of understanding that tempered the isolation, yet the emotional journey pressed on, veering into uncharted territories of self-acceptance where every step felt like navigating a labyrinth blindfolded. I rose, moving to the window, my silhouette in the glass a testament to the changes, curves where there were angles, a poise that carried an innate rhythm, as if my body had finally synchronized with the cadence of my innermost thoughts. Inner dialogue persisted, a duet of doubt and determination. What if this fades with the light, leaving only regret, countered by what if it doesn't, and you emerge stronger, more aligned? The house stirred faintly below, early birdsong mingling with the distant hum of traffic, and suspense coiled anew at the thought of facing my parents. Their routines were etched in predictability, coffee brewing, newspapers rustling, conversations about the mundane that now seemed worlds away from my internal revolution. A twist emerged in my contemplation. What if this transformation wasn't isolated to me? Recalling family lore of eccentric ancestors who changed paths midlife, I wondered if this was hereditary, an awakening passed down like heirlooms, triggered by the act of embracing what society deemed unconventional. Social challenges sharpened into focus. The hurdle of school hallways, where whispers could morph into berries, friends' loyalties tested by my evolving identity. Yet, amid the fear, an unexpected emotional turn surfaced. A budding excitement, like the thrill of a secret adventure, imagining alliances formed with those who understood, communities hidden in plain sight waiting to welcome someone like me. I descended the stairs quietly, testing my new reality in the familiar space, each creak of the floorboards amplifying the psychological depth of my conflict. In the living room, I caught my reflection in a photo frame, family portraits where I'd always felt slightly askew, and now, it clicked, a puzzle piece slotting into place. The changes held firm, no sign of reversal, forcing a confrontation with self-acceptance that was raw and unrelenting. My phone lit up with morning notifications, school reminders, friend memes, and I pondered responses, the tension of maintaining normalcy while harboring this extreme surprise. But a quiet power grew within, born from the night's introspection. This wasn't a curse, but a call to authenticity, urging me to leap over hurdles of judgment toward a horizon of possibility. As the sun climbed higher, casting warmth across the room, I felt the emotional arcs converging, fear yielding to resolve, conflict blossoming into clarity. Yet the path ahead shimmered with unknowns, each one a promise of further twists in this unfolding narrative of self. The morning light strengthened, illuminating the familiar contours of home with a clarity that mirrored the sharpening focus within me, yet the dress remained, a steadfast companion in this odyssey of self-revelation. I moved through the kitchen with a newfound fluidity, preparing breakfast as if testing the boundaries of this transformed existence, hands that poured cereal with precision, a voice that hummed softly without strain, emotions weaving a tapestry of resolve amid lingering shadows of uncertainty. The psychological depths plumbed overnight now surfaced in waves, identity conflict resolving into a mosaic of acceptance, where fragments of the old me integrated with this emerging wholeness, like rivers converging into a vast, uncharted sea. Inner dialogue softened from battle to conversation. You've changed, but isn't change the essence of growth? As I contemplated the day ahead, suspense threading through every thought like an invisible current. Footsteps echoed from upstairs, my parents awakening, and the tension peaked, a crescendo of anticipation that twisted my stomach into knots. I positioned myself at the table, heart racing, ready for the inevitable reveal, but an unexpected emotional turn arrived first, a sense of peace, profound and unbidden, as if the extreme surprise had forged me anew, resilient against the storms of judgment. They descended, greetings exchanged in habitual warmth, and then, Their eyes widened, questions tumbling out, not in anger but in concern laced with curiosity. "What's going on?" my mom asked, her gaze tracing the changes with a mother's intuition. In that moment, the hurdles of explanation became a bridge, words spilling forth about curiosity, discovery, the inexplicable shift that felt like destiny's hand. To my astonishment, empathy bloomed in their responses, stories of their own youthful explorations, hidden doubts they'd never shared, turning potential conflict into a family reckoning, where acceptance wasn't forced but flowed naturally. My sister arrived later that day, her car pulling up like a punctuation to the narrative, and seeing her face-to-face amplified the twist. She recognized the dress immediately, her old favorite, and in her eyes, I saw not shock but kinship, as if she'd anticipated this thread in our shared tapestry. "I left it there on purpose," she confessed with a smile, revealing her own experiments with identity that had led her to leave subtle invitations behind. "The changes," she explained, "weren't magic but a manifestation of deep-seated alignment, reversible if I chose, but why rush?" Social challenges awaited, school whispers, friend recalibrations, but with this support, they felt surmountable, hurdles transforming into stepping stones toward a life lived authentically. As evening fell once more, I stood before the mirror, the dress finally loosening at my will, yet I chose to keep it on a while longer, embracing the emotional journey's culmination. From curiosity's spark to self-acceptance flame, the extreme surprise not an end, but a beginning that reshaped everything I thought I knew. The kitchen clock ticked onward into the afternoon, each second a gentle nudge toward integrating this newfound self into the rhythm of daily life, the dress now a chosen emblem rather than an imposed one. My family's acceptance had been a pivotal twist, their stories unfolding like forgotten chapters that mirrored my own, my dad's quiet admission of once questioning his path, my mom's tales of defying expectations in her youth, turning what could have been a fracture into a fortified bond. Yet the emotional journey didn't halt there. It evolved, layering new depths as I stepped outside for the first time, the breeze catching the fabric in a dance that felt liberating, my altered stride carrying a confidence I'd only dreamed of. Inner reflections swirled. This is vulnerability exposed, but also strength unveiled. As neighbors' glances registered surprise, some warm with curiosity, others veiled in confusion, each interaction a small hurdle in the broader quest for self-acceptance. School loomed as the next arena, a coliseum of social dynamics where identities were both forged and tested, and suspense built like a gathering storm as I prepared to face it. Friends' reactions varied. A loyal few embraced the change with questions that delved deep, revealing their own hidden layers, while others distanced, their discomfort a mirror to my earlier conflicts. One unexpected turn came from a classmate I'd barely spoken to, who shared her own story of transformation, sparking a friendship that became a beacon amid the challenges. Psychological introspection deepened with each day, the identity tug-of-war easing into harmony, where external appearances aligned with internal truths, fostering a resilience that turned obstacles into opportunities for growth. The extreme surprise, once a shockwave, now rippled as waves of empowerment, prompting me to journal thoughts that captured the essence, fears confronted, joys amplified, a narrative of becoming that felt profoundly personal yet universally resonant. As weeks blended into months, the changes stabilized at my choosing, reversible yet often retained for the authenticity they brought, and life's twists continued. Community events where I advocated for understanding, online forums connecting me with kindred spirits, each encounter enriching the tapestry. My sister's visits became collaborative explorations, her insights a guiding light through lingering doubts, reinforcing that this path, though unforeseen, was mine to claim. In quiet moments, gazing at the mirror, I saw not just a reflection but a story etched in every line, a journey from curiosity's whisper to acceptance's roar, where the surprise was in the end, but the spark that illuminated endless possibilities ahead. The days unfolded like pages in a book I was authoring in real time, each one adding depth to the narrative that began with a simple act of trying on my sister's clothes, now evolving into a life rich with intention and authenticity. The changes, once a startling surprise, became tools for expression, sometimes embraced fully, other times subtly integrated, allowing me to navigate the world with a fluidity that honored all facets of who I was. Emotional reflections lingered in quiet evenings, where I'd sit with my journal, tracing the arcs from initial conflict to profound peace, the inner voice now a harmonious chorus affirming that identity wasn't fixed but a canvas for ongoing creation. Social landscapes shifted too. Friendships deepened with those who celebrated the journey, while new connections formed in spaces dedicated to stories like mine, turning hurdles into shared triumphs and unexpected twists into collective wisdom. My family became pillars. Our conversations are evolving dialogue of support, my sister sharing resources, my parents attending events that broadened their horizons, each step a testament to love's adaptability. Psychological growth blossomed in therapy sessions I sought, unpacking layers of societal expectations to reveal a core resilient and radiant, where self-acceptance wasn't a destination but a daily practice. The dress, that initial catalyst, hung in my closet now as a relic of transformation, worn occasionally as a reminder of the extreme surprise that shattered illusions and rebuilt me stronger. As seasons changed, so did I, embracing the suspense of future unknowns with open arms, knowing that the greatest revelation was not the physical shift, but the boundless freedom found in living truthfully, where every moment held the potential for new beginnings.